All right, we live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. None dare call it a conspiracy. Your host, my name is Agina, and we're going to talk about current and national events ending this week today, February 24th. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Trying to get in the YouTube algorithm. Okay, so we got several topics that need to be discussed this week. First, I ended the last segment breaking news about the migrants here, and Whitmer wants us to house them in our house for 90 days and to help enroll them into school and help with their asylum status and things of this sort. They are not refugees. They are here for economic reasons, which is not a reason for asylum. One of the reasons for asylum is political persecution. You're scared that, if you go back to your country, you won't, you know, be around. You'll be unalive. Um, so that was the main thing. And I was like, y'all need to wake up and stand up because they have destroyed New York City. Again, this week in New York City, there was a group. The police went in the shelter to arrest one, and they were yelling, "Surround the police!" They hit the black woman police officer upside the head with a suitcase. They're not scared of the police, but if that would have been me or you, we would have been unalived and taken to jail. So, eventually it's going to get there. It's going to happen. And, you just, you need to be aware of what's going on and you need to stand up. Detroit, everybody. This is not a black or white issue. This is a people issue coming together as one country, one self, and speaking up against this tyrannical um, administration. That's it. So let's see. This week, this trucker strike. So there's a group of truckers, Chicago Ray, who wanted to start a trucker strike of not going to New York City. We spoke about that. They only had like 3 days of supplies, and if you look at most stores, they're actually empty. Truckers are not going there, and if they are going there, if you work for a company, independent contractors are not going there. But if you work for a company, um, they're going there. But New York City has to pay a 30% extra cost for doing business with them. That's interesting because people are upset about that 300 and what is it, 55 million suit against Trump, which is a normal business practice when you're in real estate. Who doesn't inflate their it's been past practice, and he paid back the loan. So now you have a number of people, billionaires and millionaires, that said they will no longer do business in New York City. People are leaving New York and California in droves. Let me find my. Every time I think I got everything set up, it's interesting. Okay, let's go here. Oh, I do. Oh, okay, I do. I do. I do. Here we go. A man that's been overturned already on this. The last hour 15 minutes, and they're going to start refusing loads. I've been on the radio talking to drivers for about the last hour 15 minutes, and I'm talking to at least 10 drivers going the other way. I'm heading down from South Wisconsin, and they're going to start refusing loads in New York City starting on Monday.
Yeah, the man calls himself Chicago Ray, and as of last night, his posts on X, formerly Twitter, had garnered more than 6 million views and 60,000 likes. Former President Trump also caught wind of what Chicago Ray is doing and reposted Ray's video on his platform, Truth Social. But it's hard to ascertain exactly how many drivers are answering his call and what kind of impact it may have. It's not an organized effort, and the drivers...
Thank you very much. It's a very sad day for, in my opinion, the country. A New York State judge just ruled that he's crooked as you can get. And a lot of people expected something like this, but not for the amount. This is a very dishonest man. This is a man that's been overturned already on this case 4 times. But a crooked New York State judge just ruled that I have to pay a fine of $355 million for having built a perfect company. Great cash, great buildings, great everything. It affects New York. It's mostly talking about New York, where we have a totally corrupt attorney general. She campaigned on the fact that I will get Trump, I will get Trump. Everybody's seen it. Letitia James, they've all seen it. Well, we'll be appealing, but more important than that, this is Russia, this is China, this is the same game. It all comes out of the DOJ, it all comes out of Biden. It's a witch hunt against his political opponent, the likes of which our country has never seen before. You see it in third world countries, banana republics, but you don't see it here.
On refusing shipments to and from New York City in protest of that $355 million verdict against the former president in his business fraud trial. Dre Clark is live in Manhattan with the latest. Dre, what could this boycott do to prices, not just in New York, but for all of us across the country?
Well, certainly if truck drivers were to boycott New York City, the impact has the potential to be very damaging and very quickly. We're talking about supermarkets, big box stores, and other businesses that rely heavily on trucking. They would feel the pinch, and so would their customers. About 90% of communities here in New York City rely heavily on trucking to move their goods. This morning, we're on the Jersey side of the George Washington Bridge, and every day you can see hundreds, if not thousands of trucks crossing the bridge from Jersey into the city. Meanwhile, one man is now telling truck drivers not to come to New York City after former President Trump was hit with that massive multi-million-dollar fine last week. Take a listen. Trump more than 350.
So also the money was paid back to the bank. So you have a group of investors that are not going to be doing business. I'm trying to get there. Hold on, I think I got it.
Not less than 2 weeks ago, we heard that there were going to be 700,000 truck drivers in southern Texas protesting the border crisis that's down there. It simply is not.
It could shut New York City down. And, you know, I don't want to hurt the people of New York. That's not what I'm trying to do. But my part in it, if New York just loses 10%, just 10% of the trucks that go in there, their prices are going to skyrocket on everything from milk to eggs to any type of goods that the consumer needs. And when that happens, it's going to cost everybody more money.
Yeah, but not every truck driver is getting behind Chicago Ray's efforts. Many drivers responded saying that they would not support the former president because he was accused and now he's been found liable for causing fraud. They say also the New York City market
is a very high-end data center.
Now, how do you do fraud on something that you pay back? I don't understand. Am I slow? I don't understand. Fraud is usually in somebody else's name and you don't pay back the loan. You stole somebody's identity. But this is the part that I was getting to. So
they cost anywhere from $2.5 to $3.5 billion each. They're very expensive. They require low power. You need permits. But most of the major institutions in the world need more data centers, and that's why developers like me are doing this. Now, you need power. So New York has Niagara Falls. Normally, you would consider that to put in one of these facilities, create 400 jobs, 5 more jobs for each of one of those for auxiliary services. I can't go to New York. So I'm going to Oklahoma, North Dakota, West Virginia. Governor Stitt, Kevin Stitt, my staff have met with him. Governor Bergen, the same thing. Governor Justice. Those are winner states. They don't do things like this. I have to syndicate that debt and all that equity. We're talking billions of dollars here. Do you think any foreign institution or any private equity firm or any pension fund would touch New York? No. And that's why New Yorkers should be concerned. The fine people of New York should ask themselves, why are we such a loser state? How are we going to attract business? It's not just the existing businesses that are fleeing out to Texas and Florida. What about new money like this that I'm talking about, like a $4 billion data center? Not a chance I would put that in New York. Zero probability, never. And so they've got a lot of work to do to find themselves getting out of this situation. This has all occurred post-pandemic. Winner states versus loser states. Look at Tennessee right now, fastest growing city in America, Nashville. Winner state, good policy, competitive taxes. You've got to start thinking about this in the context of winners and losers. New York, mega loser state.
Getting a lot of support here. One trucker known as Chicago Ray wrote on social media saying, "I stand with Trump because Trump stands with me." Truckers for Trump ain't just a slogan, it's real. That's what this guy says right here.
So, Kevin, what did you think of Governor Hochul saying this is like a unique one and done because Donald Trump went too far and was so nefarious? You guys, if you're just doing what you should be doing, you have nothing to worry about. But they're very worried about it.
Yeah, we're very worried. Every investor is worried because where is the victim? Who lost money? This is some arbitrary decision the judge made.
Exactly.
Policy. And what this says, what does this say about the bar, the legal bar in New York? Aren't they going to question this judge? What is this? $355 million, and there's dollars as a penalty, and there's plus interest at 9%, and there's no victim? I mean, I'm sorry, her words fall on deaf ears to everybody. There's nothing she can say to justify this decision. And this has nothing to do with Trump. Nothing to do with Trump. Forget about Trump. This is not a Trump situation. This is a New York problem now. The whole world is looking at this saying, what are you doing to yourselves?
Look at this right here, saying this on Truth Social on Saturday. Such an honor to have so many great patriots on the side of free.
So that's what's going on in the latest news in New York besides the migrants whooping the police ass. Okay. Now, second topic. 37,000 Chinese nationals, which mean they were part of China's army, military, have crossed the border and they're now here. And I don't know if you know that China has many police stations throughout this country that have been built. So let's get into that. And that's a fact. So why is China here? All our enemies are here. They have crossed that border. So it's going to be real interesting when something happens on this soil, right? Because it's just a matter of time. Just like the FBI said, it's not that it's going to happen. It's when. Let me see. Oh, here we go.
Border Patrol agent in Yuma, Arizona, and he joins us now to react. Chris, this is so dangerous. I actually was down in southern Texas and ran into a woman who we interviewed who was affiliated with those who are vetting. She was a retired Border Patrol, but knows a lot of the NGOs. And she said the NGOs are vetting. They're running low on staff, and they were using recent high school graduates to vet. Nobody knows what's going on here.
Well, let me tell you, good morning, and thanks for having me on. I spent 27 and a half years as a Border Patrol agent, the last few years as the Chief Patrol Agent in Yuma, and we were ground zero for everything going wrong with the border security and immigration crisis. We had oftentimes led the country in Chinese nationals, Russian nationals, people from all over the country. And it doesn't matter what country they're from, with the volume we're seeing, especially when they're coming from countries that are not necessarily our friends, it creates a problem for the agents because they're trying hard. Our system does not do the proper vetting. We know that we're overwhelmed, that we're continuing to see numbers at record pace. And that becomes a problem because we ultimately have to release them. And that's why we say, and again, I say it repeatedly, every town's a border town, every state's a border state. Everybody needs to be concerned when we have this type of volume And we cannot do the proper record checks before we ultimately are having to let them go because there's no space.
Chris, there was just a border bill that was killed in the Senate that would do some things. And in there was the idea of hiring more people to adjudicate.
That border bill was disastrous. It actually so if you let 5,000 people in, if more than that, then you could shut down the border. And it's to hire more border control and more judges to put the illegals on a legal path. But you cannot shut down the border until you process over 5,000. How is that helpful? That's destruction of the United States. I mean, I'm just saying, it was a horrible bill. I don't know if people even knew about it. I mean, it's just a horrible bill, and I'm glad they vetoed it.
Asylum claims, potentially hiring more Border Patrol agents. I think we have between 20 and 25,000 agents now. What is the right number? In other words, is spending money how we fix the border? Is reorienting the mission of the Border Patrol we have now how we fix the border? Do we have the people, just not the right mission? Give us some insight on that.
Well, first of all, there's only about over 18,000 Border Patrol agents in the entire country, about 16,000 on the southwest border.
Okay.
The number that we would like to see is upwards of 20 to 25,000. But let me tell you something. What this administration loves to do is throw money at the problem. And this border bill was a prime example of, look, the first thing we need to do is border security. That is the number one pillar that we have to. We have to secure this border. Then we can talk about, other legal pathways, which are very important. Attracting and attaining the best. But look, we can't just bail water out. We have not to fix the lead, and I don't believe we need to remove the boat out of the water. We need border security. That's most important. But the events going around the world, the stuff happening domestically, we cannot afford a slip up, and we have to continue to support our most resilient bunch of border patrol agents we have out there.
Yeah. I mean, because all they want to do is more money to process more illegal migrants and more money for the NGOs who are making a killing off of this entire problem. So 100%. One of the things that concerns me about these Chinese nationals coming over is I've spoken to Gordon Chang. He says that they've caught them using ARs and doing sort of gun training. So, I mean, obviously these young men are not illegal migrants looking for an economic, better way of life. And that's not what you do when you come to the country. You'd be looking for a job or food or services. You wouldn't be going to a gun range. So clearly we don't know what's going on. And we have Alejandro Mayorkas now.
That part. Well, they impeached Mayorkas. That's right. They impeached him last week. Good. That he was over Homeland Security. He deserved that. Hold on. I thought they were going to talk more into it. Hold on. Let me see.
Last night, group.
Okay, I think that's it.
Well, New Tonight illustrates the latest front line in the southern border crisis.
Hundreds of Chinese nationals can be seen crossing into the southern California border, and they are not the only ones.
That's right. Fox's Bill Malugin reports from Jacumba, Florida.
A stunning sight in Jacumba, California, Monday afternoon, as a long line of migrants from all around the world scales a steep, rocky mountain and crosses illegally into the United States. This remote area, an hour east of San Diego, now a cartel smuggling hotspot for global clients. Where are you guys from?
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan?
Yeah.
Kazakhstan?
Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan. Last night, groups of the migrants camped out along Interstate 8 after crossing illegally, setting fires to stay warm. There were no Border Patrol agents in sight. Where are you guys from? Turkey.
Yes.
China. What city in the U.S. do you want to go to?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. L.A.? Los Angeles, okay. Over the weekend, hundreds of Chinese nationals crossed illegally into Jacumba, and the number of Chinese arriving is exploding. CBP sources tell Fox in the 4.5 months since October 1st, more than 20,000 Chinese nationals have been encountered at the southern border. That's up more than 4,000% over all of fiscal year 2021, when only 450 Chinese were encountered. Fox's Griff Jenkins also encountered a group of men from Syria yesterday.
Where are you from?
Syria.
Why are you coming to the U.S.?
Because we love America.
Of course, these countries that are enemies to us, that want to see our government fall, of course they're going to be sending people when they know that all we're going to do is release them into the country.
And the politics of the California border are very different than those of the Texas border. Here in California, you're not going to see any razor wire, no shipping containers, no state troopers, no National Guard. California is a sanctuary state, and it's not doing anything to try to stop the illegal crossings here. Reporting in Jacumba, California, Bill Malugin, Fox News.
In national headlines, citizens.
America is done. America is falling. Next on the news, California. Look, judgment is here. Judgment is here. California atmospheric river. Have you ever heard of that? I never have. Are causing floodings from the border from Mexico all the way to San Francisco. An atmospheric river is long, narrow regions in the atmosphere like rivers in the sky that transport most of the water vapor outside of the tropics. So it's something that's formed in the sky that hits the earth that California is going through. Cyclones formed over the North Pacific Ocean can tap into warmer tropical air and transport a large amount of water vapor from the tropics and the California coast. Remind me of that Tony. It never rains in Southern California. They tell me that's what's going on there. So 37 million people are on alert from Sacramento to San Diego to San Fran, just like I said. Flash floods, debris, mudslides, houses falling off the cliffs are happening now. Take a look. I got to get out of here too. I just wanted to put up a video. Let me see. Take a look in a minute.
Door to door, giving mandatory evacuation orders after 4 to 5 inches of rain fell in a matter of hours Sunday.
It's extremely traumatic to leave your house and not know what condition it's going to be when you get back.
On the coast, powerful waves so strong they left this sailboat marooned on the beach. Rough conditions also shut down operations at the city's airport. Farther north, the San Jose Fire Department rescued a group of people as a rising river nearly swallowed this rapidly diminishing island. High winds gusting up to 55 miles per hour in Santa Rosa downed trees that crashed onto homes, causing injuries and knocking out power to tens of thousands. In the Sierra Nevada, heavy snow blanketed the region with whiteout conditions. Back in Southern California, flooding washed out streets, forcing police to shut down roads in Ventura. The extreme flooding even has Los Angeles on high alert.
This storm is a serious weather event. This has the potential to be a historic storm.
The heavy rain expected to inundate the ground could cause even more problems.
Those saturated soils have a tendency to be unstable sometimes. So there's a potential for soils to move, mudslides.
Now, as this storm event continues, drivers are being warned to stay off the roadways and avoid travel for the next few days. Anne-Marie?
At least you mentioned just beyond there, there's, falling rock with the risk of mudslides. I'm curious about the evacuation orders. Are they still in place? Do people need to get out of areas before, the possibility of a mudslide becomes a reality?
Well, Anne Marie, over the last couple of days, we really watched officials go from door to door and knock in neighborhoods where these rock slides are expected to be. So they told people that they needed to get out earlier. We did meet a couple people who said soaking wet events.
That's good. That is so good. And I'll tell you what, spending 20 years in California, I remember living through 7 to 8 years of drought. There were times where you had to conserve as much as possible. How are the reservoirs doing at this point, having said that you're capturing a lot of this? Because a lot of it does run off to the Pacific, so it's important to capture that rain.
You bet. Most of our reservoirs are above average for this time of year. So the big ones up in the northern part of the state, Shasta Reservoir and Oroville Reservoir, they're at about 110% and 132% respectively. There's still room in those reservoirs. We were really in the depths of a record-setting.
Does that play into the long-term game? We talk about the.
So California is done. Get the hell out of there. Get the hell out of there. Meanwhile, in Texas, Abbott put a military base at the border. Nobody is coming through Texas. So now all the illegals are going through California and Arizona. 10,000 a day. They still coming. Now you tell me where they gonna get all these jobs from. Unskilled labor. Where are these jobs at? This is what I want to know. You can't make this stuff up. It's a shame. So Abbott, he built him. He's still going up against Biden, and he has built a military base. Go Abbott. Hold on. Let me this real quick.
Chess and all right, more help is on the way for the Texas border city at the center of the growing migrant crisis and the center of the dispute between Texas and Washington, D.C. Governor Greg Abbott announced plans to build a new military base at Eagle Pass to support up to 2,300 incoming National Guard soldiers pledged by Republican governors last month. The troops will help handle the influx of people entering the U.S. illegally at a popular crossing point in Eagle Pass. It's the latest move in Texas's battle with the Biden administration over securing the southern section of that border, an effort Governor Greg Abbott says is a constitutional right to defend Texas from an invasion. News Nation correspondent Allie Bradley is following the situation at the border and is live for us tonight. Allie, what can you tell us about this new facility? Yeah, hey, Elizabeth. So first, let's start with the Biden administration basically handing Governor Abbott in the state of Texas a victory here. We know that Attorney General Ken Paxton gave DHS until the end of last week to prove that they own some of that land that Texas seized. We're talking about Shelby Park. Well, that deadline came and went pretty silently. Again, Texas kind of
go Abbott
on top here, and Governor Abbott moving full steam ahead with that new base that you're talking about there, Elizabeth. So here we go. We're looking at about 2,300 troops will be able to be housed in this forward operating base. We're told that it's going to span about 80 acres, and really what that shows, it is the most structurally sound and largest kind of military support base that we're seeing the governor put up under Operation Lone Star since his expansions really started. Now, when it comes to what we can
you can't make this stuff up. Now back to New York. New York Community Bank is going under. I did a segment on banks. You better watch your money and what bank you banking with and move to a credit union. But anyway, it's collapsing. They lost 54% of its profits. Their stock went down to $4.50. And along with that, you got CEOs selling. Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan is selling 150 million shares this week. Coming up, I'll talk about that later. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, sold 20 million of his stock in Amazon. What the fuck? What the hell is going on? James Gordon, Morgan Stanley, sold 48 million of his stock in his company. Something big coming, the collapse of America. That's what's coming. And that is what's coming. Let me see. I did the Chinese. Here we go.
Now, with more is New York Community Bank Corp. Moody's downgrading its credit rating on the bank to junk status a short time ago. This follows a 22% dive for the stock today. The stock in free fall since reporting larger than expected losses from real estate lending. And maybe some concerning words from one Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen.
We are monitoring current banking stresses carefully. Commercial real estate is an area that we've long been aware could create financial stability risks or losses in the banking system.
Now, despite the name New York Community Bank, if you're not familiar, maybe you're on the West Coast, NYCB is a big bank. They got 420 branches. They're the 7th largest originator of residential mortgages in America and the 5th biggest subservicer of mortgage loans. They were once valued at $25.5 billion, but now down nearly 90% from their peak, under or right around $3 billion, and they have more than $115 billion in assets. So exactly what is going on here? Joining us now with more is New York Post business reporter Lydia Moynihan. Lydia, thanks for coming on. Listen, for people out there in Dallas or Des Moines or Denver, they think of New York Community Bank. It's not a couple of banks on a street corner. New York Community Bank is one of the biggest regional banks in America.
Yeah, and the fact that they're struggling, I think, raises the question of how much worse is it going to be? Is this going to impact every single regional bank in the country? So just to kind of touch on this, what they are signaling is pretty depressing. And the fact that you have Janet Yellen, basically the Treasury Secretary, today acknowledging that there are causes for concern is enough to spook investors to think, well, if she's acknowledging there's cause for concern, how much worse is it than what we know? And so just to reiterate, their stock price has fallen to the lowest level of this century. They reported losses in the fourth quarter of 2023 of about $250 million, and signaling that there could be more loan losses. They're putting money aside to try and prepare for that. And I think what also spooked analysts is that on the call, you had executives not necessarily giving people a lot of comfort. You know, the hope was that, okay, well, this was a bad quarter, but maybe it'll get better. And they really weren't providing any sort of guidance or clarity of what investors could expect. And that's because there are huge questions about what is going to happen in the commercial real estate space. In the next about 3 years or so, we're seeing.
And my next thing is the coming crash of the real estate market. We got 3 things going. You got the migrant crisis, the collapse of banks, and then the collapse of the housing market. All a part of Agenda 2030 coming at you. Okay, let me see here. I needed this. Ukraine. We done sent $130 billion to Ukraine with no account of the money. They not telling. We do know Zelensky did buy him a $25 million yacht, and that he bought a couple houses here in the United States. Putin said he's willing to sit down and have peace talks. Why are we steadily sending money instead of having these two come together and sit at a table and come up with a plan for peace? Ukraine is recruiting people, men up to 45, 50 years old to fight. Isn't that crazy? They have millions of people that have left. We have millions of Ukrainians here as well that were immigrants, but you don't hear nothing about that. And they were quietly moved into suburban neighborhoods where they were given money, housing, jobs, and everything. And you ain't heard nothing about that. Anyway, that's a big old scam. Because, I mean, is it really a war? Because I ain't seen no picture in 2 years. Is it? Or is it a big money scam? I don't know. You decide. Comment on what you think. Oh, you can't make this up. Arizona would not extradite Soho unalived suspect to New York. This is unbelievable. You can't make this stuff up. And I got to get out of here because I got to talk about, I'm only going to play one short video. Arizona Attorney General said that she cannot trust New York District Attorney Alan Bragg to keep the suspect locked up, so it's better that he stay in Arizona. You can't make this stuff up of what's going on.
Tia spoke with Bragg Mark just moments ago, and you're joining us from Lower Manhattan with what he had to say, right?
Yeah, Natalie, just moments ago, Manhattan DA held a press conference, and Natalie, he did not hold back.
County DA Mitchell has, I don't know how else to say it, just got it wrong at every single turn.
Alvin Bragg speaking out 24 hours after Rachel Mitchell, an Arizona prosecutor, said she would first try Rahat al-Mansouri in Arizona for attacks on women
You can't make this
not
up.
extradite al-Mansouri to New York to first face charges in the death of Denise Olias, a Queens mom who police say was killed by al-Mansouri at the Soho 54 hotel. Mitchell's reason?
Having observed the treatment of violent criminals in the New York area by the Manhattan D there, Alvin Bragg, I think it's safer to keep him here and keep him in custody so that he cannot be out doing this to individuals, either in our state or county or anywhere in the United States.
DA Bragg not mincing words in response.
I've been doing this now for 20 years. I've never seen any.
Right. That's because you released all the migrants who whooped the police ass 2 weeks ago. You released all of them, and some of them left the state. That's why she's doing that, because of your policy.
Like it, let alone in a murder investigation.
Also new today, Leah Polian shared her story about an encounter in Florida with accused serial attacker al-Mansouri, a former co-worker at her apartment.
He gets on top of me and just immediately goes for the throat and starts strangling me.
Leah says she managed to escape and called police after convincing al-Mansouri to let her use a bathroom at a Florida store. He was arrested and released. Months later, the NYPD says al-Mansouri beat Olias to death at the Soho 54 hotel. For Leah, all of this a nightmare.
He got a rush from almost killing me. Like, it actually turned him on.
Right now, al-Mansouri is in custody. He's being held without bond in Arizona. We're live in Lower Manhattan. I'm Mark Santia, News 4 New York. Mark.
All right, I got to get out of here. That's I got some more stuff that's coming up. I wanted to do it all in one, but I can't. I have to go. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Any more topics you want me to cover. Also, what's coming up next? Massive layoffs. Where are these migrants getting jobs from? It is over 50 companies that have laid off since January 2024. Every company is laying off. Ain't no jobs here. Ain't no American dream. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about Discover. Shoot, they done lost 16% of their profits. I'm going to talk about Ford and Stellantis, talking about they shipping jobs to Mexico based on these huge wages that the UAW did. Sometimes you got to be careful what you do because you don't see the coming backlash from it. Tax refunds down 30%, and we're going to talk about all these companies laying off. That's coming up next. Like, share, subscribe, comment. See you later. Okay, now how I stop this because I got to go. Oh, in stream. All right, and as I learn this stuff, it's going to get better and better and better.